Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Damola, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to turn your basic bodice block into a corset, and I'm going to be using the pattern from my previous video on how to draft a basic bodice block. So if you've not watched that video, I suggest you watch it first before watching this. So let's get right into the tutorial. So now this is our basic bodice block, and the first thing we are going to do is to input our under bust measurements, because if you remember from my last video I didn't include the under bust measurements while we were creating our darts. So now I'm going to go ahead and input my under bust measurement, and my measurement is going to be starting from my shoulder slope. My under bust measurement is 13, and I'm going to go ahead and input that down, and I'm going to make a straight line. And I'm going to go ahead and label it under bust so I don't get confused. And after that, I'm going to go over to my shoulder, and I'm going to divide whatever I have left on my shoulder into two, and I'm going to find the midpoint. Then I'll connect the midpoint directly to my bust point, just like you see me doing in the video. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and determine how high or how low I want my corset to be. For me, I don't want it to be too low, so I'm just going up by 1 inch from my armhole line. You can decide to go up by 1.5 inch or 2 inch. But I'm not that busty, so I usually go up by just 1 inch. Then I'm going to go ahead and make a straight line there. That is going to serve as my new chest line. Then you can go ahead to label it your upper chest line. Then for my center front, I'm going to go ahead and measure ½ inch all the way from my upper chest line down to my bust point. This is going to serve as the space between our corsets. And I'm going to make a straight line. Now for that front part, you can do 1 inch, but I would mostly recommend ½ inch, because at the end of the day you'll be cutting on fold, which is going to give you 1 inch. Then after that, we're going to go ahead and input our darts. On our under bust line, we are going to be adding 0.75 inch on both sides of our dart, and on our half length we are going to be adding ½ inch on both sides of our dart. And we are going to make a straight line to connect the two. And after that, we are going to go ahead and connect it to our dart leg. And after that, we are going to go ahead and measure ½ inch on both sides of the line on our upper chest line. And we are going to connect it to our bust point. And after doing that, you are going to go ahead and determine how deep you want the center part of your corset to be. For me, I don't want it to be too deep, so I'm going to maintain my armhole line. So you are going to curve the line that is facing towards your center front. You are going to curve it towards the ½ inch that you left on your center front, just like you see me doing in the video. And after that, you're going to go ahead and measure your dart leg. When I measured it, I have 3 inches. Then I'm going to tilt it towards my other dart leg that is facing my armhole, and I'm going to mark the same 3 inches. This is just so that when I'm sewing, I don't have one part of the cup shorter or longer than the other. I'm going to make a mark there, and I'm going to blend it towards my armhole. And now we are done achieving the shape of our cup on the upper part. Now we are moving to the lower part. Now from my under bust line, I'm going to draw a straight line to meet up with the 1 inch below my bust point. I don't usually use a French curve for this part, because at the end of the day I'm still going to use my free hand to blend the middle part. But if you have a French curve, you can definitely go ahead and use it. So this is basically me just blending it, just like I said I would do earlier. But if you have a French curve, you can definitely go ahead and use it. It just depends on the way you bend your French curve. Now to complete the center front part of our corset, you're going to go ahead and extend that ½ inch line in the middle of your corset. You would extend it all the way down to your under bust, and from there you are going to measure 1 inch diagonally. This is going to serve as your cup gauge, so you know how deep to curve your cup. Now you're going to go ahead and connect from your under bust to the 1 inch and back to your bust point. That is basically all for the center part of our cup, and now we can move to the side part. To get your cup for the side part of your corset, you can do it in two ways. It's either you measure the distance between your bust point and your under bust, or you are going to measure the distance between your armhole and your bust measurement, and you are going to divide it into two. Then you are going to connect. But for this, I'm going to be using the distance between my under bust and my bust point. After measuring, I had 3.75, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to impute that on my bust point line. Then I'm going to go ahead and connect from my under bust to the 3.75 inch. Then I'm going to blend it into my armhole, just like you see me doing in the video. And that is basically all for our corset. Then we can go ahead to draw out our yoke. And now for our yoke, we are going to be connecting from our neckline all the way down to the side part of our corset, just like you see me doing in the video. So right now we are done with our corset and yoke, but I've noticed that most time if I go ahead and cut it out like this, when I'm done sewing, I usually have a little bit of excess on the lower part of my yoke. So to eliminate this, I just go up by 1/4 inch on the lower part of my yoke and I blend it back into my armhole. Now note that this is not you tightening your yoke, it is just like a form of contouring. There's a different method entirely to tighten your yoke, but I will not be doing that in this video because I don't want this video to be too long. So if you want me to make a video on yoke tightening, please let me know in the comment section. So after blending it back into my armhole, I'm just going to go ahead and shade that part because that is the part that we are going to be cutting away. I don't want us to get confused. I can go ahead to label your patterns. I've gone ahead to label my yoke, and I'll go ahead to label my center front CF with double arrow because we are going to be cutting on fold. I'm going to label my side front SF with a single arrow because we are not cutting on fold and we are going to cut two pieces of that. Then I'll go ahead and label the side part of my corset SF with a single arrow, and we are going to be cutting two of it. I will do the same to the center front by labeling it CF with a single arrow, and we're also going to be cutting two pieces of it. Then I'm going to go ahead and create a basque waist effect on my blouse length because I just don't want it to be straight. To do that, I'm going to go down on my half length line by 1 inch and I'm going to connect it back to my blouse length, just like you see me doing in the video. And after we are done doing that, this is what it looks like. We are basically done with our corset, and we are going to go ahead and shade off the parts that we are going to be cutting out so you don't get confused. Then we can go ahead and cut it out. But you need to remember that this is a block pattern because we did not add any allowance at all to this corset. It is just a block pattern. Now if you want to cut it on your fabric, you have to add all your allowance, because take a look now, we already took about 2 inch from our waistline, and if you go ahead to cut it like this on your fabric, you are going to run into problem later on. So if you're a beginner, I would advise that you add your sewing allowance on your pattern paper before cutting it out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it out now, so please pay close attention to the parts that I'm cutting out. This is what all the parts look like after cutting it out. So now we can move on to the back pattern. So now this is our back basic bodice pattern. So now the first thing we're going to do is to go ahead and input ½ inch on both sides of our nipple to nipple measurement on our bust point, and we are going to connect it down to our half length, just like you see me do in the video. This is to eliminate gaping on the upper part of your center back after you are done fixing your zip, because we are going to be using a zip for this corset. And after that, you are going to go ahead and extend your nipple to nipple measurement all the way to your armhole line, and you are going to extend the dart beside it as well. Then you're going to go ahead and determine how open you want your back to be. For me, I don't want it to be too open, so I'm just going to go down by 1 inch on my center back, and I'm going to curve it back into my armhole, just like you see me do in the video. Then I'm going to go ahead and connect my neckline to the dart leg facing the side of my back. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and do the same contouring that I did for the front, that is going up by 1/4 of an inch and blending it back into my armhole. Then I'm going to go ahead and shade off the parts that we won't be needing, and I'm going to label my yoke. Now, if you remember, for our front parts, we went down by 1 inch when we wanted to draw out our basque. So now we're going to do the same thing from the back by coming down by 1 inch, and we're going to make a straight line all the way down. So that is basically all for our back pattern, and you can go ahead to cut it out. But you need to remember that your back is also a block pattern, it is not a working pattern. So you would have to add your sewing allowance when you want to cut on your actual fabric. So now you can go ahead to cut it out. And you can go ahead and label your back pattern too. I'm going to go ahead and label the center back CB, and we'll be cutting 2 of it, and I'll be labeling the side SB, and we'll be cutting 2 of it also. Then you also go ahead to cut out your yoke. So this is what the back pattern looks like, and I'll be taking you through the process of sewing it in my next video. And if you have any question, I'm going to be in the comment section, so please do well to leave a comment. If you like this video, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, like and share, and also don't forget to click on the subscribe button and make sure to turn on the post notification so you get notified whenever I post a new video. And I'll see you in my next video.